continue to express affection to your world. That is what opens the door further. Be careful of the opinions of others. Take them deep within yourself to find whether you should pay attention to them or not. Even what I tell you. Else you will simply become an obedient puppet. And an obedient puppet of the opinions of others is not the full expression of the Father. If you're going to be the puppet of anything, it better be the source of your being, that which is being you. And that is God. And the fact is that all of you who are experiencing dreams are trying to be puppets without strings. And you can't get away from the fact that you are puppets. Thy will be done means you yield to the puppet master. You yield to that which is what is expressing itself and looks like you. This is why awakening is so insulting to the ego. The ego thinks it is a puppet without strings. It's independent. Do you understand?
I understand very well.
Yes.
I will always follow my heart, I think, as the highest authority.
Love, however, is not an emotion. And following your heart is not a matter of following emotion. Love is a function. Love is the function of your being. And love is the substance of your being. And so you must yield to the essential function and substance of your being. And this is a far cry from following an emotion called love. That's the end of the answer.
Thank you very much, Raj.
You are welcome. Okay, hands. Right here.
Raj, you state that one cannot awaken alone. Does this mean that one can only awaken if in relationship on a one-to-one basis with a particular person? And I don't mean the special relationship. That is my question.
No, I do not mean that it has to be one-on-one. But there has to be at least one object of your affection. One person, one thing that you are willing to become defenseless with and let in without at the same time sacrificing yourself. In other words, the illusion is an illusion of separation, an illusion of separateness, of independence, of isolation. And what I'm saying when I say you cannot wake up alone is that there is no way to wake up in isolation. You cannot carry the state of being isolated into the state of being awake. And so the armor, the defense that one holds around himself or herself that constitutes a separation from everything else must break down. And the only thing that will break that down is extension, as well as the defenselessness that allows one to stand in receipt of all that's in his experience. Receipt of the meaning. As I said yesterday, involvement. It could be a teacher with a classroom of kids, or that same teacher with a mate. You simply can't wake up without engaging in love. And you can't engage in love and be separated or separate. It's really that simple.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I get it.
Hands. Right here.
Hi, Raj.
Good afternoon.
I would like to know if there's, or what is in the way of my feeling a deeper connection with my guidance. Is there something that I'm doing or not doing that would be helpful to know?
The only thing that ever gets in the way of anyone's connecting with their guidance is that they have something they would prefer to be doing. It's really that simple. They prefer to stay in a feeling they're having, or they prefer to give their attention to a line of thought that they're attending to. That's all. What's the answer to that? The answer to that is, let it be more important to be in communion with your guide. And if you have to, just say, it's more important to me to do this for 20 minutes than anything else. For 20 minutes, so that you know you can get back to these other things in a reasonable amount of time. Sometimes the thought is that the circumstances in one's life don't allow you to have the time. And so that's where you give your attention, instead of saying, I'm worth 20 minutes of my time, and the rest of the world can wait. It's always a matter of preference. So, give preference to listening to your guide, and persist and persist and persist. And it will become easier and easier and easier.
Thanks. I got the same answer, oddly enough. Just the other day, and I was in communication while I was cutting an orange, and asked the same question: How can I hear you better? As I was about to bite into the orange, and the answer was, be more curious about me than be more interested in me, what I'm going to say, than biting that orange. And it really made me stop. So, yeah. Thank you.
A search for what's standing in your way is something that can keep you distracted from a worthy goal. Don't ask, why is it taking me so long to get there? Ask, where do I put my foot next?
Okay, where do I put my foot next?
Well, where will you give your attention to? If it's in terms of better communication with your guide. You'll always do what you value, and you'll always reap the fruit of what you value. And if you value anger, or you value fear, or you value frustration, or you value revenge more than you value clarity, you will follow those things. You're never the victim of anything other than your choice of where to give your attention. And remember that with your guide, in tandem with your guide, you can give your attention to eating an orange. Or taking a step in the world. Or working with a student. After all, Paul is working in tandem with me right now. And he's not sitting in a cloistered cell, isolated from everything, inactive, not relating to his world. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hands? Yes.
Good afternoon, Raj.
Good afternoon.
I just had a brief question related to the question Michael had about meditation. And I've noticed over the years a kind of a phenomena, I don't know if it's normal or what, but when I meditate, I seem to stop breathing. It's like I go into suspension of some sort. Could you talk about that?
Only to say, pay attention to the experience.
Okay. if I start thinking about it, then I can't do it. But if I don't think about it, I can do it. I understand.
Well, I didn't say think about it. I said pay attention to it.
Okay.
And there's a wonderful distinction there.
Okay. But that's...
Pay attention means be present with. Just be present with a thing. Be present with the experience.
Okay. Is there a point where you can get past the discomfort of that?
Of not breathing?
Not breathing, yes. It's kind of strange.
Pay attention and find out.
Okay. Okay. Well, is that normal?
It is a simple fact that as you meditate, you waste less and less energy, and it therefore takes less and less energy to maintain physical function.
Oh, I see. So that's a normal byproduct of settling down.
You could put it that way, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. Okay, hands. Okay, right over here.
Thank you, Raj. Just a point of observation. I noticed that I had several questions that were really paramount in my awareness that I wanted to ask, and as I've waited for my turn, several of those have been very adequately answered for me through others' concerns. The other aspect for me is that I sometimes have some difficulties with this notion of, and it has to go back to me following my guidance, that perhaps I already know the answer to the question I'm going to ask, so it kind of sets up a double bind that maybe I'm not persevering enough to get the answer, and the easy route is to ask you. So, nevertheless, I'm going to persist and do it anyway. Recently, I had the experience of encountering a rather fearful physical condition that required me to make a decision about how I was going to deal with it. And it had to do with the identification of a small tumor on my salivary gland. And in seeking out not only medical advice, but in sharing with some of my, what I consider to be spiritually awakened or aware, at least, friends, and how to approach this, what I noticed was that I reached a point that I was immobilized by the fear of not making the right decision. This is in spite of all the progress I thought I'd made in my spiritual evolution. I was quite, and part of this is I was quite stunned to see how pervasive, how quickly fear came upon me and how unprepared I was to deal with it. Because it really it seemed to suggest the potential of me facing the fact that I was mortal and perhaps I could possibly, this body could cease to exist and I could die. Having been in pretty good health and taking good care of myself up to this point, and then having someone say, there's a tumor there that could be malignant, we've got to go in and operate with some urgency. This is back to the medical profession and saying, that it needs to be excised so that we can, determine if it is malignant. Well, so in trying to sort out what to do, I found something that I do in life a lot. I go out and I canvass, I seek opinions, and so I wasn't satisfied with 2 opinions. I sought a 3rd opinion from the medical profession, and of course I had them all over the landscape. One says, yes, it must come out right away. The second one said, maybe so, maybe not. And the 3rd one that I went to, who recommended by the second, said, I think it's nothing to worry about. So it left me in a bit of a quandary. Basically, what I did do was I did ask for some guidance. I did come to some resolution in the fact that I needed to lay this to rest, and I chose to go ahead and have the operation. Also being advised by a woman who I've learned to trust, who was a psyche and has been quite accurate in the past, who said, yes, it needs to come out, and no, it's not malignant, don't worry about it. So I proceeded with the operation, which was it was a operation that had possibility of a lot of serious side effects. And the result was that the tumor was removed, part of the gland was removed. It was found to be malignant. And the doctor that did the operation, who was quite surprised, he was the one that thought it would not be malignant, then said, it came down to another decision had to be made. And in consultation with other physicians who weighed in on this procedure and the results of the pathology, again, it seems like I had 3 other options presented to me. Do nothing, extensive radiation, which, as a aside, the doctors had pretty well decided that this was a result possibly of a lot of radiation that I was given when I was a teenager for acne, that I found it a bit ironic that they were suggesting more radiation to cure what was caused by radiation. So I quickly turned that option down very, very summarily. And the third one was to go in as soon as I'd healed from this operation, which was a fairly invasive one, and have the rest of the gland removed in which this small, very small tumor was embedded. So what I guess I'm soliciting your guidance on this, because I've noticed that I asked the doctor again that did the operation, what would your opinion be? Because he said the other doctors kind of split into thirds. Some said radiation, some said cut out the rest of the gland, and the other said do nothing. And he voted for nothing, which, interestingly enough, I had pretty much come to the conclusion that that's what I wanted to do, was to do nothing. However, what I'm noticing is that, and that was nearly a month ago, 2 months ago that I had the operation, and I'm noticing that fear has come back again. I'm second guessing my choice in this matter. And also it's bringing up a lot of questions in my mind about what is my function here. I know from my Course of Miracles experience that love is letting go of fear, and also I think healing is, the Course, if I'm correct, says healing is letting go of fear. It's the same thing. So I'm confronted with this challenge of knowing a lot about, in my head, the process of letting go of fear. And yet I'm finding myself, again, confronted with a fairly high level of anxiety. Not all the time. Sometimes I'm very much at peace about it, but fear rears its ugly head in my consciousness. And I'm asking for some response from you.
Well, you know
part of
what?
me is looking for validation on my choice on this to do nothing, but beyond that is the issue of fear, which in some ways is more critical to me than whether I've done the right thing in this matter.
You had better take care of the fear before you take care of the physical problem. Because you can be afraid of anything. You can be afraid and say, I will have the operation. And then you can become afraid of what the result of the operation will be. And afterwards, you can become afraid that maybe you did the wrong thing. And all along, all the fear will have done will have been to deprive you of the peace, the inner balance that would allow you to know exactly what is truly appropriate from a place within you that is accompanied by spontaneous conviction around the appropriate step so that you are no longer susceptible to fear when the decision is made. Am I being clear?
Yes.
Now, I will tell you that it is not necessary to take any more surgical steps, but whether it is or not, the fear or the tendency toward fear must be dealt with.
I'm thoroughly convinced of that. That's really the primary concern that I have.
And so you're going to have to take time to become quiet and to listen deeply for the answer. I want you to listen for the answer from me. Or I want you to listen for the answer from God. In other words, I want you to very consciously select where the answer is to come from and what answer is going to be allowable. What I mean by that is that only an answer from me or the Father is allowable. In effect, you will be saying, I don't care what my ego says or will say. I don't care what other people's egos will say. I only care about what the Father says. I only care about what Jesus says. That's where I will listen for my answer. That's who I am willing to listen for my answer from. And then let it fill you. Because along with the answer will come the calm assurance that it is true. But as I said earlier, you're going to have to decide what you're valuing. Are you valuing fear? Are you valuing the opinions you've heard from others? Or do you value your peace and the answer from the Father more? And then make commitment. Okay.
Thank you.
You are welcome. We will take another break. Okay. Hands. Right here.
This may seem a little whimsical, but we were just talking about what it would feel like when we're enlightened. And when you speak of God always creating, there's a certain sadness that comes over me because I was hoping that once I became enlightened, I could visit places from long ago, like when they were building the pyramids, or I could walk through the palace at Knossos. You know what I'm saying?
I do, but do you realize there were things built before that? And what I mean by that is that home with a capital H, which will be your...
Playground?
That's a good word for it.